A soap factory faced a major problem. They occasionally shipped empty boxes without the soap bar inside, damaging their reputation with buyers and distributors. Determined to solve the issue, the CEO gathered his top people. After 6 months and $8 million, they developed a fantastic solution. On time, on budget, and of high quality, they introduced a special scale that would sound a bell and flashlights whenever a soap box weighed less than it should. The line would stop, an employee would remove the defective box, and then press a button to restart the process. The system worked as intended. No empty boxes were shipped out, and customer complaints dropped. The CEO was pleased and confident that the $8 million investment was worthwhile. However, after a few weeks, the number of defective boxes caught by the scale dropped to 0. Concerned, the CEO filed a bug report. The engineers investigated and confirmed that the system was working perfectly. No defects were being detected. Puzzled, the CEO visited the factory. He went to the line where the precision scale had been installed and noticed something strange. Just ahead of the scale, there was a simple $20 desk fan blowing the empty boxes off the conveyor belt into a bin. The CEO asked the line supervisor, "What's with the fan?" "Oh, that," the supervisor said, pointing to the fan. "Bert, the kid from maintenance, put it there. He got tired of walking over to remove the box and restart the line every time the bell rang." A sign in a restaurant window reads, "If you order it and we don't have it, you instantly win $1 million. A man walking by notices the sign and, intrigued, walks into the restaurant with a smirk. He sits down and the waiter asks for his order. The man confidently requests white rhinoceros stew. Surprisingly, the waiter returns with a steaming bowl of exactly that. The man is stunned, but eats the expensive meal, then angrily pays and leaves. The next day, he returns with the same smirk and orders bullet ants stuffed with dolphin meat. Once again, the waiter promptly serves him the requested dish. The man, once again amazed, eats, pays, and storms out in frustration. On the third day, the man returns, sitting down with a mischievous grin, and orders a lactating mermaid breast sandwich. A few minutes later, the waiter comes back, but this time he's holding 2 large duffel bags containing $1 million. The man, overjoyed, exclaims, "I knew it! You don't have mermaid breast." The waiter, with a polite smile, responds, "Oh, we do, sir. We just ran out of bread." A wealthy man was having an affair with an Italian woman. One night, during one of their secret rendezvous, she confided in him that she was pregnant. Not wanting to ruin his reputation or marriage, he offered her a large sum of money if she would go to Italy to have the child. He also promised to provide child support until the child turned 18. She agreed, but was curious how he would know when the baby was born. To keep things discreet, he told her to send him a postcard with just the word spaghetti written on the back. He would then arrange for the child support. Months later, he came home to find his wife looking confused. "Honey," she said, "you received a very strange postcard today." "Just give it to me. I'll explain later," he replied. The wife handed him the postcard, and as he read it, his face turned white and he fainted. Alarmed, his wife picked up the card from the floor and read aloud, "Spaghetti, spaghetti, spaghetti, 2 with meatballs, 1 without." On a scorching afternoon, Scrooge the miser and his grandson Tim were trudging home from a party. Tim complained, "Gramps, it's still such a long way. It's so hot. And I'm really tired. There's a bus stop right here. Can we please take the bus home?" Scrooge was horrified. $6 to get home. What a waste of money. We're walking." Tim sighed but didn't argue, and they began walking. A few moments later, Scrooge spotted a passing taxi and waved it down. "How much would it be to take us home to Springfield Avenue?" he asked the driver. "Springfield Avenue." "About $20. The driver replied. $20? Too much. We won't be needing your services, thank you, Scrooge said, sending the cab on its way. Tim, confused and frustrated, turned to his grandfather. Did you really think a taxi to Springfield Avenue would cost less than a bus ride? He asked incredulously. Don't be ridiculous, of course not, Scrooge scoffed. Tim, still puzzled, asked, Then why did you even stop the taxi? Scrooge grinned, proud of his thriftiness. Because, Tim, we would have wasted $6 on the bus, but now we're saving $20 by not taking the taxi. An airline captain was mentoring a new blonde flight attendant on his first overnight trip. Upon arrival at their destination, the captain kindly showed him the best spots for airline crews to eat, shop, and relax during layovers. The next morning, as the captain was preparing for the day's flight, he noticed the new attendant was missing. Knowing which hotel room he was in, the captain called to check on him. The attendant answered the phone, clearly distressed. I can't get out of my room, he exclaimed. The captain, puzzled, asked, What do you mean you can't get out? The attendant groaned. There are 3 doors in here. One leads to the bathroom, one to the closet, and the last one has a sign that says, Do not disturb. A man is sitting at the bar in a busy airport when a stunning woman walks in and sits down beside him. Noticing her uniform, he assumes she's an off-duty flight attendant. Hoping to impress her, he decides to guess the airline she works for using their mottos. Leaning over, he says with a charming smile, We love to fly, and it shows. She stares at him blankly. Not discouraged, he tries again, winning the hearts of the world. She gives him a puzzled look. Still undeterred, he leans closer and says confidently, Going beyond expectations. With a weary sigh, the woman finally snaps. What the heck do you want, moron? The man grins and leans back. Ah, he says, American Airlines. On her first day at a new office, a blonde woman was given the task of setting up her computer. Hours passed, and her boss was impressed by how focused she seemed, sitting in front of the screen for a solid 11 hours. At the end of the day, the boss approached her and asked, Hey, you seem to have worked so hard today. What were you working on? The blonde woman, with a proud smile, replied, Well, I spent the entire day fixing the keyboard. It took a while, but I finally got all the ABCs back in the right order. Years ago, a man boards a flight and is surprised to find a parrot strapped into the seat next to him. As the plane takes off, the stewardess begins her rounds. The man politely asks, Excuse me, could I get a coffee, please? Meanwhile, the parrot squawks loudly. Get me a bloody whiskey, you moron. Startled, the stewardess quickly brings the parrot its whiskey, but forgets the man's coffee. The man gently reminds her, but before she can respond, the parrot screeches, And bring me another whiskey while you're at it, you idiot! Visibly flustered, the stewardess returns with the parrot's second whiskey, but still no coffee for the man. Frustrated, he decides to mimic the parrot's approach. I've asked you twice for a coffee, you moron, he shouts. Now bring it before I lose my temper. Seconds later, 2 burly security personnel appear, grab both the man and the parrot, and throw them out of the plane mid-flight. As they plummet through the air, the parrot turns to the man and says, For someone who can't fly, you've got a lot of nerve. A leather worker was on a flight to Australia when disaster struck. The plane crashed into the ocean. By sheer bad luck, he was separated from the other survivors and ended up stranded on a small deserted island. Desperate to survive, he scoured the island for food. Fortune smiled on him when he stumbled upon a herd of docile cows. Using his skills, he hunted one, expertly prepared its meat for sustenance, and tanned its hide. With food secured, the leather worker turned his focus to escape. Using the cow's leather, he crafted a large canopy and laid it out on the beach. To ensure he'd be spotted, he used leaves to spell out a giant SOS. A few days later, a passing plane spotted the signal and called for a rescue ship, saving the stranded man. It just goes to show, sometimes the best way to survive is to hide in plain sight. A blonde and a lawyer are seated next to each other on a plane. The lawyer, looking for entertainment, suggests a game. Let's take turns asking questions. If one of us can't answer, we pay the other $5. But to make it fair, if I can't answer your question, I'll pay you $500. The blonde, wanting to nap, initially declines. After his persistence, she finally agrees. The lawyer begins, "What's the exact distance from Earth to the moon?" Without hesitation, the blonde hands him $5. Now it's her turn. "What goes up a hill with 4 legs and comes down with 5? She asks. The lawyer is stumped. He pulls out his laptop, scours the internet, and emails his colleagues, but no one has the answer. Frustrated, he hands her $500. Satisfied, the blonde tucks the money away and closes her eyes. The lawyer, now curious, asks, "So what's the answer?" Without a word, the blonde hands him $5 and goes back to sleep.